Skeptic is the quarterly publication of the Skeptic Society. We're a science education organization. We investigate claims of the paranormal, pseudoscience, fringe groups, cults, claims of all kinds between good science, junk science, bad science, voodoo science, pathological science, non-science, and plain old nonsense. And unless you've been abducted by aliens and been on Mars for a while, you know there's a lot of nonsense out there. Some people call us debunkers, but let's face it, there's a lot of bunk to be debunked. And that's what we do. For example, we did one on the future of intelligence. Are people getting smarter or dumber? Well, I'm from Southern California, so I have an opinion about this myself. But it turns out that, in fact, people are getting smarter. IQ scores are going up 3 points every 10 years. So you kids are way smarter than my generation. And we're counting on you to solve all those problems like cancer and Alzheimer's before, you know, we get it. So do your good science there. We did one on artificial intelligence. When will computers achieve human-level intelligence? And we concluded that we're 5 years away and always will be. I also wanted to tell you about Junior Skeptic Magazine. And every copy of Skeptic tipped in the back is Junior Skeptic Magazine for middle school and high school kids. So kids, have your parents subscribe to Skeptic Magazine. As you grab one out of the back there, you can see there's a Junior Skeptic Magazine there. We're sort of the Scooby-Doo of Mythbusters, you know? Like there's always a guy behind the monster mask. It's not really a monster or a ghost. It's some explanation there. The great Carl Sagan, we did a tribute to him. Crystal skulls, what killed the dinosaurs, and science fiction and science fact. And when you join the Skeptics and you get a subscription to the Skeptic Magazine, you also get to meet the Skeptic dog. He's very skeptical. So in science and skepticism, we're looking for natural explanations for natural phenomena. And we always want to ask, what's the more likely question? That aliens traversed the vast distances of interstellar space and they landed in Farmer Bob's field in Pucker Brush, Kansas and made a crop circle that says skeptic.com to promote our webpage? Or that somebody with Photoshop just made a fake slide for me? What's more likely? Before we say something is out of this world, let's first make sure that it's not in this world. Again, we can ask the what's more likely question, that aliens traversed the vast distances of interstellar space and landed in Sacramento, California to help the governor, Arnold, from my great state of California. Or that the World Weekly News magazine just makes stuff up. Okay, we have no evidence of aliens landing anywhere on Earth. We have lots of evidence of tabloid newspapers just making things up. So whenever possible, we want to test, observe, experiment. So let me tell you about a little experiment that was done on something called therapeutic touch. Therapeutic touch is this sort of pseudoscience claim that the human body has an energy field, that the energy field extends beyond your skin, and that you can like massage the energy field and puff it up and read the different colors. Like you have like pink energy means you're, you know, really good energy, and if you have like brown energy, you hurt your shoulder maybe, this kind of stuff. Okay, so there's no evidence for this, but how do you test this? So this is what it looks like, by the way. The therapeutic touch practitioner is there in the surgery room waving her hand over this person. I call it the touchy-feely without the touchy because they don't actually touch the person. They're just massaging the energy field. Well, one day, a friend of mine named Linda Rosa, who was a nurse, was watching a video of one of these therapeutic touch practitioners in order to debunk it for Skeptic Magazine. And her little daughter, Emily, who was in 4th grade at the time, she wanted to you remember in 4th grade you have to do a science project? So little Emily devised a science project she could do to test therapeutic touch. And what she thought she would do is test to see whether these therapeutic touch practitioners could really tell if you had an energy field or not, if they didn't know if you were there. So what Emily did was she had the therapeutic touch practitioner sit behind a cardboard, that opaque cardboard you couldn't see through, with 2 little cutouts, and so the person puts their hands through there, and little Emily just decided, I'll put my hand above their left hand or their right hand by the flip of a coin. So it looked like this. So what's the probability that the therapist will guess left or right? 50-50, right. So she tested 21 of these, And in 281 trials, they got 123 hits and 157 misses. They did worse than guessing. Now, of course, before the test, she stood there and said, okay, can you read my energy field? And they said, oh, yes, it's prepubescent pink, and it's radiating. It's a very positive energy. But the moment they were behind the cardboard and they couldn't see which hand she was holding their hand above, the power mysteriously disappeared. So we published this in Skeptic Magazine because it's a good skeptical debunking. But then Emily got some more data. She got more practitioners. Her mom is a nurse. Her father is a mathematician. And they submitted it to the Journal of the American Medical Association, where Emily was published on April 1st, 1998. She won the Guinness Book of Records award for the youngest person ever published in a major scientific journal. She was 11 when this happened. This is the famous Emily experiment. We gave her award at Caltech. That's the amazing Randy giving her her little Globe Award for this terrific thing. So that's how science can be done. It's just asking the right questions and having the facts. Facts are the key to science. Everyone is entitled to his own opinion, but not his own facts. Facts do not cease to exist just because they are ignored, Aldous Huxley. And my favorite, reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away. So let me give you an example of why science is self-correcting. Science is the best tool ever devised for understanding the world because it's self-correcting. It catches its errors. So let me tell you a little bit of a story about my friend Simon Singh. Simon is a physicist in England who is also a science writer, a very popular science writer. He writes books about the Big Bang Theory, the real one, not the TV show. And so he once wrote an op-ed piece, an opinion editorial piece in The Guardian, which is sort of the New York Times of England, about this song that this woman wrote named Katie Malau called 9 Million Bicycles in Beijing. It's just sort of a poetic song about how much she loves her partner. And she says, we're 12 billion light years from the edge. It's a guess. No one can ever say it's true, but I know that I'll always be with you. So Simon wrote this essay saying, well, no, wait a minute. It's not just 12 billion light years. It's 13.7 billion light years. And there's no edge of the universe. It's just how far we can see, the observable universe. There's no edge to it. And it's not a guess. Astronomers have been working day and especially night to get the answer to this, and they have it very carefully within a range of error margin there, these little error bars that you see in these scientific papers. So he wrote about this, and much to his amazement, he heard from Katie, who said she was embarrassed because when she was in high school, she was on the astronomy club, and she's sorry she didn't get it right, so they went to the studio and recut it. So here's the first version of this.
We are 12 billion light years from the edge. That's a guess. No one can ever say it's true, but I know that I will always be with you.
Okay, and now here's the new version, the scientifically corrected version.
We are 13.7 billion light years from the edge of the observable universe. That's a good estimate with well-defined error bars. And with the available information, I predict that I will always be with you.
Yay, science rocks! So let's ask the question, are aliens coming to Earth? Are UFOs their spacecraft? What's more likely, that UFOs represent spacecraft from other worlds or anomalies in this world? This is a UFO photograph. This UFO was taken from my house in Pasadena, California, looking out over Los Angeles there. That's my bush right there in the corner of my yard. If that UFO looks like a Buick hubcap, that's because that's what it was. We were sitting there doing a photo shoot for a television show on National Geographic on how to fake your own UFO photos. One great way to do it is you just sit there with a camera and you flip hubcaps in front of the view, and you have the camera focused on infinity. You can see downtown Los Angeles there. Here's a good one with the sun glistening. We did it late in the afternoon so the sun would be setting here and you get some nice light glistening on. And here's a little toy model about this big that we were dangling with fishing line and a pole over the San Gabriel Mountains in my backyard. And here's how we did it from this perspective. Here's the camera crew guy on the right. That's my daughter taking photographs on the left. I'm holding a big piece of glass. This is another way to do it. You take some coins with double-sided tape, and you stick the coins to the glass. Then you hold the glass up, and you focus on the infinity to the city in the backdrop, and you see UFOs hovering over Los Angeles. Now, that doesn't mean all UFO photographs are faked. But if you can't tell the difference between a real UFO photograph and a faked one, that tells us we should be skeptical. The bottom line is, be skeptical until the evidence is overwhelming to reject your skepticism. And remember, unidentified UFO, unidentified flying objects. It just means unidentified. It just means I don't know what it is. It doesn't mean extraterrestrial. It doesn't mean your pet theory is right. It doesn't mean there's a conspiracy. It just means I don't know. In science, it's always okay to say, I don't know. And maybe I'll find out. So things we don't know, maybe you guys will figure out. There's a lot of mysteries there to be filled. So I want to believe. This is from the iconic poster from X-Files. And I wrote a book about this, The Believing Brain, in which I argue that our brains are a belief engine. We're pattern-seeking primates. We connect the dots between A and B. This is called association learning. These are rats in a Skinner box or dogs, you know, with the bell. You know, you ring the bell and he gives some food and he salivates. You ring the bell and he gives him some food and he salivates. You ring the bell and he salivates. He's associated A with B. This is called learning, and animals are really good at it. And this is how long ago I was doing this with these computer. By the way, kids, see that bottom right photograph there with those yellow things? You won't know what those are, but those are called pencils. We used to use those. And here was one of my pigeons pecking these keys. And it turns out that if you randomly give him a reward, whatever he happens to be doing, like he flips around and bumps his wing on the wall, and if he gets rewarded, he'll repeat that behavior. That's called superstition. Magical thinking. That's thinking A is connected to B, but there's no connection at all. It's an accidental connection. I call this patternicity, the tendency to find meaningful patterns in both meaningful and meaningless noise. And we make two kinds of errors. A type 1 error, a false positive, is believing a pattern is real when it isn't. And a type 2 error is a false negative, is not believing a pattern is real when it is. So here's your thought experiment for the day. Imagine you're a hominid on the plains of Africa 3.5 million years ago. You're a little Australopithecine about this high with a tiny little brain, and your name is Lucy. Thank you. Some people get that. And you hear a rustle in the grass. Is it a dangerous predator, or is it just the wind? Well, if you believe that the rustle in the grass is a dangerous predator, and it turns out it's just the wind, that's a low-cost error to make. That's a type 1 error. That's a false positive. But that's relatively harmless compared to if you believe that the rustle in the grass is just the wind and it turns out it's a dangerous predator, your lunch. Congratulations, you've just been given a Darwin Award, or an Ig Nobel Prize Award, for taking yourself out of the gene pool early, before reproducing. So this is the formula to describe what this is. That is, patternicities occur whenever the cost of making a type 1 error is less than the cost of making a type 2 error. In other words, it's just easier and simpler and faster to just assume all rustles in the grass are dangerous predators, even if they're not. And that's the basis of magical thinking and superstition. This is why people believe weird things, because we have to believe things, and it's easier to just believe everything is real. Science is the antidote to that. Science says, don't believe everything you see and hear and so forth until there's evidence for it. And that's why science requires education and practice, because it doesn't come naturally. What we naturally want to do is just believe everything. Here's some patterns that look kind of real. What does this look like? A horse. There's another horse. Of course, they're not real. These are patterns in your brain. How about that? What does that look like? There's the cow. You see the cow? Okay, by putting the red line around the cow, I'm priming your brain to tell you this is a cow, this is what you should see, such that when I go back, the cow still pops out. Should pop out even stronger. How about here? You see the Dalmatian dog? There he is. Again, by putting the red line around, that's called priming. I'm priming the brain. So you prime the brain to see and hear, and it will obey. Let me give you an example of this visually and auditorily. I'm going to play for you a song, portion of a song, forwards and then backwards to see if you can hear the hidden message It'll be really hard to hear the secret hidden message until I put the words on the screen, and that'll prime your brain to hear it. So here it is forward.
If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alone there. It's just a sprinkling for the May Queen. Yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on.
Okay, I'm not actually sure what it means forward either, but that, of course, is the Great Stairway to Heaven, which many people thought they heard in there when you play it backwards, which is a silly thing we used to do when I was in high school, that you could hear this hidden satanic message. So I'm going to play it for you backwards without the words on the screen. You have to listen for the hidden satanic message. See if you can hear it. This is backwards. Okay, what'd you get? Satan, time for Satan. Anybody get 666? All right, here it is. Here's what you're supposed to hear, the secret message when I plant it with the words, I prime your brain with the words on the screen. Oh, you don't want to go anywhere near that tool shed. It's a very, very dangerous place for Satan lurks within. This is the power of the brain. Once you tell people what to believe, you go inside a house and you tell people it's haunted, every sound will be reinterpreted as a ghost or a monster. If they don't believe that, they're not going to hear the ghosts or monsters. Sometimes what we see just because our brains are trained for this. We're particularly good at faces. Even upside down, we immediately recognize our president. Until you look at it and you see one of them's a little weird. Which one looks a little weird? Yeah, the one on the left there, which I'll now rotate to make it on the right. So this is an effect of just flipping the eyes and the mouth. The reason this happens is because just above your ears in your temporal lobes, you have an area called the fusiform gyrus. It's the face recognition software of your brain. It's designed to scan and find eyes and mouths and noses and things like that. And once you start looking, you see them everywhere. Here's the famous face on Mars that turned out to be just an eroded mountain. Here's a happy face on Mars. Here's the Indian Head in Canada. It's a valley. It's about 10 miles across. And here's just some faces that will trigger your fusiform gyrus in your temporal lobes to see faces in all sorts of different areas. Oh, the cheese. Oh, no. Faces are everywhere. All you need is 3 data points. 2 eyes and a mouth or a nose. Look at that one, a shadow on the side of a garage building. Here's the alien head on a fence. Here's one of my favorites, the nun bun, the Mother Teresa bun, discovered by a Tennessee baker. Here's the Virgin Mary on a grilled cheese sandwich that I got to hold and see in Las Vegas. It sold for $28,500. Here it is up close, the Virgin Mary on a grilled cheese sandwich. I don't know what the Virgin Mary is supposed to look like. To me, it looks a little bit more like Madonna. Or maybe a 1950s starlet like Jean Harlow. Or actually, when I saw it, you know who I thought it looked like? I thought it looked like my mom. That's my mom. Here's the Virgin Mary on the side of a glass building in Clearwater, Florida. Richard Dawkins, the amazing Randy, and I went there on a Good Friday. And there were a lot of people there lighting candles, there in their crutches and wheelchairs to be healed by the icon. But it turns out that when you go around back and look around the building, wherever there are sprinkler heads, And palm trees, there's stains on the windows. In fact, I found another miracle on the back of the building there that they started to wipe off because I guess you can only have one miracle per building. But again, I asked the what's more likely question. Is it really a miracle of Mary or is it a miracle of Marge? Well, I'm not Catholic, but I am a Simpsons fan, so that's what I saw. Finally, I want to end with something called the confirmation bias, the tendency to seek and find confirmatory evidence for what you already believe and to ignore the disconfirmatory evidence. It's how psychics work, and astrologers and tarot card readers. They just throw out a lot of things. They do a cold reading. And then they feed back to you what you tell them, and you only remember the hits and forget the misses. It's another one of these cognitive biases that fools people into believing weird things. Bill Nye, the science guy, will be here in a couple days. He and I did a whole show on how to do psychic readings. I spent a day doing psychic readings, astrology readings, tarot card readings, and palm readings for people, and I got so good at it at the end of the day, people were crying. I'm like, oh no, I have to tell this person it's all a fake. So I'm going to end by putting all these together, these priming effects, the confirmation bias, and something called expectation violation, with a final video that shows you how easy it is to be fooled if you really believe something. So let's go with that.
And this is a test on some lip balms that we have over here. Okay. And these are our models who are going to help us, Roger and Matt. Okay. And we have our own lip balm, and we have a leading brand. Okay. Would you have any problem kissing our models to test them? You wouldn't? No. You think that was fine?
That would be fine.
Okay. So that this is a blind test, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and put a blindfold on. Okay, now can you see anything?
No.
Hold up so you can't even see down.
Okay.
It's completely blind now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now what I'm going to be looking for in this test is how soft it makes the lips, okay, the texture, right, and maybe if you can discern any flavor or not. Okay. Have you ever done a kissing test before? Here, so take one step in. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to pucker up big, and lean in just a little bit, okay? Okay. All right. Feel?
Good. Oh my God.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.